Hello, everyone. We are getting ready to start an AMA with Craig and Angel. We're going to give people a few seconds to jump on to this, but we've done this for the few different times now, and this will be our third time doing it, and we're pretty excited to have Craig and Angel. So I think we have 18 pre-scripted questions for them, and maybe any more that add into the chat. So let me just make sure this is going right now on Facebook Live. We'll give a few minutes for people to jump on
I see
before we
you on
dive into all the
Facebook.
questions. You see it?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll show you guys for a second, and then me. So this is how let's go back and forth today. So now that we're up and going, I'm gonna flip it to you guys and pull up the questions. And if I remember right, Angel, you saw them, and Craig, you didn't. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep, but it doesn't mean I have answers to all of them.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see where we go then. So we have a lot on Instagram. So we'll start here, just because these ones are kind of fun. What is the worst or funniest dating advice you've ever received or heard?
Yep. You want me to go first, Angel? Okay.
I have some advice to give, but I will let you go.
So my pastor, I wish he was tuning in. My home pastor, when I was dating Angel, we moved our wedding date up, and when we told him we were going to get married, what was it, like 6 months sooner than we planned?
Um, well, we got married in November and we thought about July before.
Yeah. So 6, 8 months sooner than we planned. I went in his office to tell him, and before I could tell him the reason why, he said, "Well, it's better to marry than to burn with passion." Probably
That's,
the
that's your best.
That's funny.
My advice is, and it's what I did when I decided that I wanted Craig to be my husband, and I tell this to people that I'm close to, um, especially ladies. Gentlemen are going to do whatever they have to do, and they're going to be kind when they're pursuing you. But I say, obviously, watch for that, but watch how they treat people who benefit them none. How do they treat the common stranger? How do they treat the person who can't repay back? Are they kind? Are they generous? Are they respectful? Because in reality, that's who their character is. There's no motive, it's just what comes out of them. So that's my advice. Watch who you're with and watch how they treat others.
how did I do?
Like how you
Like
did.
how did you when you observed me treating others? How did I do?
I married you, didn't
Uh,
That's good enough. That's the good enough answer, isn't it? Okay. So, Angel, you shared some good advice. Craig, I hope that wasn't your good advice. Do you have
no,
good advice?
my,
we have a lot of people marrying for no reason, for one.
yeah, no, I didn't. I don't have any good dating advice that I was ever given because we and Angel didn't date very long. It was like got to know each other. I proposed, boom, we're married.
But I do think Pastor wanted to know if you knew if I had teeth or not, since we really had not met yet when
Oh,
we were
because
even
she was
married.
from Missouri, so he was
Ah,
harping on joking that because she was from Missouri and we hadn't met in person, we were talking a lot over the phone. He said, "You better make sure she has teeth."
and it looks like you passed with the teeth, so that's a good thing. Hey, Angel, so this one's just for you.
Okay.
What did you want to be when you were little?
I think it's common for children to kind of admire their parents. So I know that as a child, I often thought about the military, since my father was in the military, and art. I wanted to be an artist. I enjoyed art a lot.
Hmm, that's a new thing I never knew. That's cool. Craig, this one's just for you.
All
How
right,
much better does it feel to be bald?
a lot better. I was I was using a product in my hair that at first when I started using it, I got a lot of compliments. And Connor, you're frozen. I don't know what's going on. You're
Oh, am
frozen, but
I?
if you still got us, um,
Uh
the
oh.
more hair, more and more hair I lost, the more that product I was using, and the more obvious it became. And I was just tired of messing with it. So now I shave my head once a week, and I love it.
I'm tempted to kind of join you in that fight for having a clean shaven head.
I'm over to the bald side.
And there are a lot of us females who enjoy it, so we're good.
I hope Katie's one of them. Um, this one's a pretty deep question.
Ooh.
Where do you guys see yourself in 10 years?
Uh, I see myself somewhere in a permanent position, serving somewhere in a church, hopefully in a kind of an associate or executive role, and with an outside ministry outside the church, traveling and ministering to small churches and small church pastors and mentoring them.
Hmm.
And my desire, and I would love to see this happen within 10 years, is I would like to be available to volunteer and to care for people that may not have family or lonely or something of that nature, just to give people company. It's not anything big, but it's something that even when I was a youth, when I was in middle school, in my neighborhood, sometimes I hung out with my peers or the neighbor kids, but a lot of times I hung out with the snowbirds, the retirees, and just enjoyed their company. So
Cool. Okay. So this one takes some counting. How many states have you guys lived in?
together or separate? As a
Both.
couple? Okay.
Let's do both.
So as a couple, we have lived in 8 separate states. So in the comments, tell me what it's like to live in just one. That would be really nice. For myself, my upbringing, that would include 2 extra states and an extra country.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I
What was the
moved
country?
around.
I was born in England, so I came to the States when I was 3.5. So the first state I lived in was South Dakota.
Wow.
And since we've been married, my job has moved us around a lot. But I, prior to being married, she moved around a lot as a kid because she was in the military, and I moved around a lot as a kid just because. Long story.
What number? What number?
17 or
Nope.
15?
Nope.
14?
There you go.
14. I've lived in 14 different states.
Wow. Wow, wow.
It's sticking, honey.
Okay. What are some of your guys' hobbies?
So I love landscaping and outdoor stuff. I love working in the yard, planting flowers, vegetables, that kind of thing. That's something I do anytime the weather's warm. Something that I consider a hobby that I don't get to do as much of would be anything really outdoors, hiking, biking, light mountain climbing, trails, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
I like reading, and I enjoy, like a little kid, picking up rocks and stones. Nothing spectacular, but those are the things that I enjoy.
Huh. That's pretty cool. I hadn't, these are really kind of different things I've never heard from you guys. So this is pretty interesting.
Yeah. We're real exciting, picking up rocks and playing in dirt.
I mean, doing anything outdoors, I feel like you're relatable to a lot of people then, especially right now. Everyone wants to be outside. Each of
Um,
you guys.
I have a question. So I don't
What?
see the comments, but the people that are listening, I want to hear their best or worst dating advice. I want to learn about them.
Hmm.
So think of,
We I have Facebook Live on my phone that I'm glancing at every once in a while, but we don't have we're not on Instagram right now.
oh,
Not on Instagram, no, but we are on
but
Facebook.
yeah, but
We're
I
on
mean,
YouTube as well.
yeah, oh,
Oh,
okay. Well, I would love to just hear funny things or things about dating. Click on the comments. It'd be fun for me to do.
yeah,
You did you
Connor can keep things moving. We
yeah.
can read the
Wait,
comments later.
I'm saying I want participation. I did say I liked reading as a hobby, right? Thank you.
Yes, reading as a hobby. See, I don't read. I listen to books. I'm a bad reader. I can listen
Okay,
though. I listen to
everybody,
Audible.
who's the readers in the group?
I can't relate. Yeah.
He's the reader. I'm the one I listen to. I listen to sermons or sometimes audiobooks or anything I can listen to. When I do read a book, I get a lot out of it, enjoy it, but just sit myself down and be still, I struggle with that.
Hey, I'm with you. Okay, so I'm gonna try and make sure the comments are working correctly. So I'll check that because sometimes you can turn them off or toggle them with this program we're using. So I'll make sure to check those. Um, while you guys are talking for this next one, I'll check into that. What are each of your guys' greatest accomplishments? Actually, each of your greatest accomplishments and your greatest accomplishment as a couple, like something you've done together, you're very proud of accomplishing.
Okay, you kind of flipped the script there for a minute. My greatest accomplishment, I was going to say, was probably our greatest accomplishment as a couple. As a couple, I'm going to say our children.
Okay, I mean that's a good answer in case they ever listen to this.
Jeremiah is listening. He's over, and he's an introvert, but I wish I could get him to come over here. He's in the kitchen snacking, and he heard me say, he's like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think when people meet our children, I think that people enjoy them and they're delightful. So, absolutely, I think together, um, raising them. And our situation's been unconventional for many years. Craig was gone 9 months a year, so I got to have the single mom aspect as well as parents with my husband. So, for sure. So, what is the accomplishment that you are most proud
So my greatest accomplishment as an individual, I know this is going to be kind of vague, so sorry about that for anyone. I'll try to clarify it quickly. Is I don't know that I can point at any one thing. I think my greatest accomplishment is the a combination of small things that I've done in my life, whether it be planting a church, revitalizing a church, overcoming some personal obstacles in my life that should have had me down for the count. Um, the way I've served other pastors, um, a lot of behind the scenes stuff that don't make the front page, so to speak. I'd have to say all the small things of life. Little
Hmm.
vague, but making the most of the small things. What about you?
about? Well, it's maybe not an accomplishment to society, but there are moments that I'm happy that have taken place in my life, and that is admitting that I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh,
And also, I I have a friend, she can attest to it. We were friends 18 years before I told her I love you. So I guess really becoming more vulnerable. I'm always transparent, but being vulnerable with my emotions and my feelings and trying to really be reflective of the other person's perspective. So that's just something I think that I'm happy that's taken a place in my life, and I think I'm a better person for it.
Wow, that's those are deep. uh, Not to flip too much into very different questions, but you guys talked about your past a little bit just now. So we got to go to the picture that was I put on this post a little bit. That's Angel's profile picture right now. Give us some backstory, some history on that, because that that picture is just golden. And Craig's little mustache is amazing as well.
yeah. Let me just tell you, since you're commenting on my glorious mustache,
And your head. He's
so
Indian you.
well, I had a lot of hair then. I have always that was my attempt at being more manly. Because if I completely shave off all my facial hair, I have kind of a baby face. But if if I try my hardest to grow facial hair, I don't do very well. I can't grow a whole lot. This right here is the best I can do, and if I shaved it all off, it would take me about 4 months to get it back. So the mustache was an attempt at being more manly. I started growing it in after college. So when me and Angel met, I was 24, and I just thought it was manly, even if I failed at that attempt.
that's that's something. So when was that picture taken?
I
We were
know.
dating. Okay, go ahead.
It was a picture of an engagement picture.
Yeah.
Trying to decide what we wanted for an engagement photo. So that would be early spring of 2000.
Yep, we were at the beach.
Oh, that was 2000. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you saw this. I'm a little worried we might be glitching out a little bit here and there when I'm trying to keep a stream open. But Katie jumped in with dating advice. I don't know if you've seen that. Katie said her
Oh yeah.
advice is be the person you want to date character wise, and you will attract that type of person.
Yes, good
Oh,
job,
okay.
Katie. That's right. I love giving this advice that I can pass it to my son, and then I can have a daughter-in-law and have grandkids. This is great. Keep it coming.
So I can share mine as well, since you're asking. Mine was the best advice I heard was make sure you're both going down the same road. Um,
Gotcha.
and so for me, I got that in college, and I was dating a girl at the time, so I didn't marry her. So I took that advice.
Very good.
But so it was good advice.
I did
Uh,
too. I never dated until I met Angel. So to dating advice, it's just I never got any because I never.
You were the friend.
Yeah, I was
Always the
always the
friend.
friend. I had a lot of girl friends, but I was always in the friend zone.
mm, it's a it's not the worst place because it worked out well for you.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm just glancing at the questions real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one. How'd you know that that was the person you were supposed to marry?
You want to go first?
Yeah. So I just knew. I've been praying for a wife, and it was like it was everything. It was all my focus was on finding a wife, and it just wasn't happening for me. And I had come out of college, and I joined what I call my home church. It was a church at that point I had not been involved in, but I came back to Florida, went to college in Texas, came back to Florida, and started attending in this church. My first night at this church was a Monday night for a revival service, and the evangelist called me out. Never met him before in my life. Him, the pastor, no one knew anything about my life or situation. And he called me out and said, and pointing his finger at me, said, "You need to stop looking for a wife, and you need to pursue the heart of God and put Him first, and He'll bring you your wife." And then some other stuff, and I, blew my mind. And so I did that. And 3 months later, I was introduced to Angel through a mutual friend. Started talking on the phone. First conversation I ever talked to Angel on the phone, I knew she was the one. I just knew it. Everything inside of me, I just knew.
So for those that do not know a lot about Craig and I, he was living in Florida and I was living in Missouri. And so a childhood friend of mine, we had reconnected after 8 years. And so she told each one of us about the other person. My nature was I could have imagined myself dating and dating for 10 years before I would ever agree to marry because I knew it was a forever thing. So I knew I was going to be very particular. So to pick up a telephone, talk to a stranger who I've not met in person, and to be absolutely in love with somebody I don't know, that is not my nature to fall easily. But I feel like it was just like God just dropped it in there and it was already there for me to live it out. And so it was the same thing. And it was totally out of character and that love for him never left. And I can't explain it. So
Hmm,
now stay humble.
man. So I have to ask this question by Jeff before I forget it. Jeff commented on this post earlier and said, "Have you ever used each other's toothbrush by accident or on purpose?"
Never.
No.
We're grossed out by that.
Oh yeah, no.
No.
I don't even like to drink from him in the same cup. I think that's gross when people do it.
Yeah.
Or straw. Or anything. That's just gross.
Oh man, that's
Yeah.
fun.
So no toothbrushes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're not going down that road then.
No.
Uh, Brendan just dropped a question for you guys, and again in the picture, not in the chat, in the live thing. So, what's your guys' best parenting advice?
Ooh.
I like that one.
Where's our boys so they can tell us everything we've done right?
Best. But go. You go ahead, Angel. You go first.
One thing is, I do have standards for my household, but it is not performance. I've let my kids know why I've chosen to raise them the way they want and out of love. I also feel like to convey my feelings, but not to be emotional. Because I feel like to talk in a calm way, to explain to them, it gives them understanding of where I'm coming from. And I also let them. I respect that they may have a different point of view, but I'm accountable to how I raise them. I also feel like Um, I believe in humor. I believe in being lighthearted, and being very transparent as a parent. So I think that's
Yeah, you pick which is the best. I'll make it quick. I'd say make them a priority. Spend lots and lots of time with your kids. I guess being on the road for 9 months out of the year for the majority of my kids' life, any time I had with them was precious. Be interested in what they're interested in and cut them some slack if they're not interested in what you're interested in. And then, hold on. Um, and don't don't try to be their friend. Be friendly and but don't try to be their friend. Be the discipliner, be the leader, and create structure because structure will make them feel safe. And even though at times they'll push back against it, they always appreciate it even if they don't admit it. I don't know. Pick which one.
it always helps to find a church with a really great youth pastor too.
Speaking of, Brendan just asked me to adjust the video. It says that people are only allowed to comment 100 characters. So let me adjust that real quick and open it up because I don't know if that means Brendan has a laundry list of
Yeah,
questions for you guys or what.
yeah.
But
Brendan, if he's got a lot to say, I want to hear it because normally Brendan doesn't have very much to say. So, Brendan, bring it.
so in the meantime, I have 3 questions for you guys
Yeah.
that are quick, maybe fire hitters while I can do
Okay.
this.
So we'll try to answer quick.
Uh, so you can take as much time as you want, but they're just quick and easy. So the first one is, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
You know what my favorite color is?
Whatever mood she's in.
No, I have a favorite color. My students know.
Well, lavender or purple.
No, it's brown.
Brown. Okay.
It's
What?
changed. We've been
Nope,
married 20
nope.
years, and
Ask-
that's like her 5th favorite color.
No, it's brown, and I'm right, and that's all there is.
Is there a reason for that?
I think brown is I love it. It's a natural color. I mean, I love it in wood. I love it in stones. I love it in chocolate. Why not?
I mean, okay, the chocolate. Okay, I have.
It's
I'm
boring.
I actually have. I forgot. I hadn't added the favorite color into the question, so you're actually gonna have a few quick hits. Favorite band or song, whichever one.
He's the music person.
Yeah, I tend to be partial to vertical worship, but sometimes I lean towards gateway as well. But vertical worship is probably my favorite. If not, if you get out of like the worship scene and you're talking about like just bands, I'm probably gonna have to go with like Casting Crowns, Matthew West, Big Daddy Weaves, one of those guys.
Mm.
So I am not musically inclined at all. So I'm gonna have Craig explain what kind of music I like. What's the thing where it gets like intense? I love violin.
She likes music with a strong with a lot of strings in it and with a lot of crescendos. So music
Symphony?
meets heaven. Music meets heaven is her current is on her playlist a lot.
Music. Oh, yes, yes. Music meets heaven. Uh, I'm pretty sure the guy who sings for them was on America's Got Talent as well.
Wow. Okay.
So that's a fun fact. Okay. Favorite book, and you can't say the Bible.
Driven by Eternity by John Bevere changed my life. Literally to this day, I read it probably 12 years ago. Literally changed my life to this day. Changes the way I see ministry, changes the way I see eternity, changes the way I live my life.
What was the name?
Driven by Eternity.
Driven by Eternity. Okay.
Yeah. I like Thus Saith the Lord. That's by John Bevere as well. And I like Undercover. So I think we tend to really enjoy material written by John Bevere. I like nonfiction, so it's very hard for me to read anything fictional. So I've only read I've read a couple books. And one of them is coming out as a movie. So I'm so excited. All us women are redeeming love. Yes. So I homeschooled just 1 year. We decided the boys and I were going to travel with Craig instead of having that separation. And so someone said, you've got to read a fictional piece. You're always reading to learn. And so I was homeschooling and I was given that book. And that day, I canceled all homeschooling lessons. I fed my kids Cheerios 3 times. So I was not the best mother, but I did enjoy a great book.
Well, good job on that one then.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the last quick one. Do you have a favorite movie?
Top Gun.
Oh, there we go. I could see
Hands down.
that makes sense why you love volleyball so much.
Yes. I I never looked like that, but I actually used to be very athletic, played a lot of sports, and was in shape. Never had six pack or anything, but I was in shape, and I played intramural volleyball in high school.
Hmm. Angel, what about you? Do you have a favorite
So
movie?
obviously, for anybody to know, we have a system called Clear Play, so it can edit stuff. But my favorite movie is Office Space.
Office Space.
Yeah, it's great.
It's got some inappropriate stuff in it, but if you get it filtered out, oh my gosh, the movie will have you at a loss for breath. You can't. Oh my goodness.
So,
um, so now that I got this thing fixed, there's a few comments coming in for you guys.
all right.
So Kayla asked, "What's your best advice for marriage?" And you guys kind of talked about that at the very beginning. But if you had one, let's just do this one thing that you could share. What would it be?
Communicate, communicate, communicate.
I'll make that.
If I can
Okay.
finish.
So we're communicating really well, as you can tell.
I was gonna say, communicate always, communicate often, communicate thoroughly, and it creates a lot of emotional intimacy as well.
Yeah, I would say recognizing. So, for instance, Craig is a risk taker and he likes to dream and think out loud. And I've had to learn that just because he's speaking out loud, because he's dreaming out loud, doesn't mean we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Where I am definitely more of a cautious, I like to think about all the factors before making decisions. And so I've had to realize that when he speaks, he's speaking out of who he is. And it doesn't necessarily mean that when he's speaking, he's doing it for the reasons that I do it. Does that make sense?
So the advice is what, like, support your spouse, or what are you saying?
It's really recognize who your spouse is,
No.
and that when they are communicating who they are, it's not discounting who you are, but they are themselves are opening up, and to appreciate that, and to appreciate that generally God puts us with somebody that is a balance to who we are, and that together things flow.
Got it. That's good. So Kayla also had kind of two questions in one here. So here's the second part of that. What's one thing you've struggled with in your marriage and have also overcome?
Communication. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we could probably throw out a few things here, but I've probably been the worst at it. Early on, Angel would just ask me, "Will you just communicate? Will you just tell me what you're thinking? Tell me what makes you tick. Tell me your reason behind it. Communicate." And I expected her to just understand. And once I learned to communicate and understood the value of it, now I communicate everything with her. Like she just said, sometimes it'll just be thinking out loud, and it's process of elimination. But it's yeah, I was I at least I was. I think we both had some learning to do there, but I was horrible at communication and got better at it.
So here's the thing too. I would say that our roles, who we are, kind of reversed. So, for instance, if we had a disagreement, I just want to like let's just forget about it and go get something to eat. Like let's not mull over it, you know. Or I don't take things personally, or I can be very sarcastic and I love humor and like let's not make a big deal out of nothing. Where Craig is definitely more thoughtful and tender, and he takes things at a deeper level. So to me, it's like, oh, whatever, let's go. That may not be for him, and so I've had to learn that I can't just brush it off and go get something to eat. That he's really going to address it. So it's probably very unusual. I think those roles are typically the opposite in most homes, but it's
So, what did you struggle with and you've overcome?
well, I didn't like you having those emotions. Like, why do you have to be so emotional? Let's just get on with life. So I've had to learn to be comfortable with somebody who loves deeply.
Hmm. That's pretty interesting. Pretty, I feel like pretty relatable. Probably, maybe not the same, but could be
Right.
flopped. But I feel like that's very relatable. Um, Here's the most important question of the night. It clearly is. What's your favorite thing about Iowa?
I think your mom asked that one.
Yep.
I think I should get to go first
Yeah,
once.
we'll let Angel go first. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really first. I did not realize this was a thing. So when we moved here, and I love talking to strangers, I was just like, one thing about Iowa, I've lived in Missouri, I've lived in Nebraska, I've lived in Iowa. They're all Midwest states, and I've lived in Ohio. Ohio to be really, really friendly. It's a friendly culture. And I didn't realize that Iowa friendly was a real thing until after it. And I know there's people from Minnesota that are going to say that's a Minnesota thing. So if Minnesota's friendly, then that's awesome too. I find it very friendly here.
My favorite thing about Iowa, I would probably have to say the same thing, friendliness. Although in the metro area, as we grow and grow and grow and grow, I unfortunately see that dissipating just a little bit. Not going, it hasn't gone away by any means. But yeah, the friendliness.
Hmm. Well, I think that'll take a win for everyone. You didn't say Casey's Pizza, so hopefully you've had Casey's Pizza.
Oh yeah, of course.
No, I'm not from Missouri. I grew up with the KC pizza.
um, Here's a question for it, and this one is actually left anonymously.
Oh, okay.
So,
Can you do it?
uh,
Oh, that's interesting.
so you can answer this however much you want
Okay.
because this is pretty deep. What's been the best and worst reason you've left a church?
So we've only ever left a church with the blessing, or we have been sent. So to be honest with you, I can't give you a worse reason because we've either been sent and launched, if you will, or we've left because we have another assignment. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I do want to say something to that. So if anybody ever decides to leave for whatever reason, I hope it's never in their mind for the worst reason. I hope that if there's a difference or a different thought process, that they would go to their pastor or whomever and just share their heart. And hopefully there could be some reconciliation. And if not, then let them be blessed to move on. I would hope that no one leaves on a bad note or a note or a feeling that's not been revealed. Now, the best reason to leave is to move forward and to obviously do what's been taught in that building, what's been felt in that building, and take it out in the world. There's a second reason why it's really good to leave a church. It's when two people said, I do, you had the wedding, you celebrated, and now it's time to go celebrate.
Can't argue that one. Um, who's the most influential person in your life, each of you guys?
And most influential person in my life is Angel.
Oh, that's so sweet. Why?
I could give other names that are a couple people that are extremely important to me and that have influence in my life. But Angel is because we've been married almost 20 years now, and as we've grown, like we don't have the picture perfect marriage, if you will, whatever that is, right? But we have a really good marriage. And Angel is my biggest cheerleader, but she's also the one that is most willing to challenge me when I need to be challenged or call me on something when I need to be called. And I don't like that. I don't enjoy those times, but I always appreciate her for it. And I've learned to really, really trust her insight, her wisdom, and her discernment. And she's an incredible source of strength for me. And of all the people that have influence, she has the most influence.
That's a very logical answer. So just so that there's some variety, I'm going to tell Angel she can't say Craig.
So I'm going to tell you that in my life, it will never be one person. I am I am influenced by watching people. So, for instance, when I go to Reveal and I watch people who love from the heart. So I watch to see who hugs from the heart. I watch the person who sits next to somebody and talks with somebody from the heart. So I watch actions and I'm influenced by how other people live and how they show their love, how they show their care, and then either I'm inspired to become a better person, or I'm just appreciative, and I understand that each one of us has something to offer. So it's really a lot of people who do the little things that they never know that I'm watching, because I am a big watcher, an observer.
I will remember that when we can finally all meet in person together
I was
again.
just going to say, take note, Connor. She's watching.
I know where you sit, so you usually sit in behind me in view shot, so I'll always know you're watching. Um, what's each of your guys' favorite Bible verse and why?
So there's a verse. So my favorite verse changes with season. So I don't have.
Just like her favorite color. I'm telling you.
I love purple flowers. That's the thing. That's what he's
Okay,
getting.
go ahead.
I love purple flowers. And I love yellow flowers. I love all flowers. Anybody, if I could be rich, that's the one thing I would have every day of my life is fresh flowers. And he knows that. So one day maybe that'll happen. Um, but my favorite verse happens with whatever's happening in my season. So in the Word, Psalms 92:2 talks about every morning about God's loving kindness, and every evening about His faithfulness. You know, He's a God that loves us. He's a God that is faithful. And knowing those things, I know I'm always loved. I know the people I love are always loved, and I know He's faithful to what He says and to His character. So that is what has been my verse in this season.
Yeah, I have a hard time picking just one. So, I have an Old Testament, New Testament. Old Testament would be Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts that I have towards you, says the Lord. And the reason is because even though God's people were in rebellion and would not repent, he gave them plenty of chances and warnings to repent and told them if they didn't repent, they were going to face judgment. And yes, God did bring judgment on his people. He had a plan of redemption from the very beginning. And that also speaks to his overall plan of redemption. And when he spoke Jeremiah 29:11, they were coming out of captivity. And he's saying, look, I've got you. I'm for you. And then in the New Testament, be Romans 8:18, which says, for I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared to the glory that shall be revealed in us. And he's talking about the day that we stand before the Lord. So that speaks a lot to me because all the writers of the New Testament talked about suffering in this life. Paul suffered more than most. And he says that whatever I suffered can't even be compared to the glory I'm going to receive.
Hmm, that's cool. Love both those. I like the season change as well, Angel. That's really cool. I haven't heard anyone say that. That's cool. Um, I like this question from Nora, and I saw you saw us, Angel. But I adjusted the question a little bit. What's the first or most important question you will ask the Lord when you get to heaven?
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
No, it's one that I don't have an answer to. So.
So I don't know when I'll get to ask the question because Revelation and Thessalonians and the book of John kind of give us a picture of what that day will be like. And from what I can discern from when we get there, it's going to be after judgment and after our rewards, it's going to be a huge time of worship and then a huge time of celebration. So if I finally get to ask him a question, it's probably going to be, seriously, Lord, what's the deal with ticks? Seriously, why? Why? They're like the spawn of Satan. Why? I mean, I'm freaked out by spiders, but at least I understand why spiders exist and I can appreciate them, even though I can't stand them. Ticks, I see no purpose. Why?
I love it. I love it.
I think I'm just a curious soul. So I wonder what would the earth and humanity look like had Adam and Eve never ever sinned? And that humanity never did. What did that picture look like? Is that eternity now? Is that the picture? Or what would life look like?
Hmm.
So very curious person. So
That would be interesting. That'd be a good one. So here's a couple just off the cuff questions for you guys. Craig, what was the most fun thing about being a pastor? And Angel, what was the most fun thing about being a pastor's wife?
Ooh, you know, the most fun thing about being a pastor is being in the pulpit on a regular basis and delivering the word. I mean, I can't tell you how much I love preaching. That's the most fun, probably. And then to go with that, seeing the response and the results when it clicks with people, and seeing the word of God reach people's hearts.
Hmm.
I think for myself, when I have served in that role, um, prior to us being in ministry and leadership in that role, if you would see me in church, which maybe there's an element of it today, I was very reserved. I would come in, I would enjoy the service, and I am out the door. And nothing personal. It just I just felt very comfortable being there with people, but I was not a fellowshipper or socializer in that setting. And so when suddenly that came that I was going to be a pastor's wife, well, that doesn't go too well for the pastor's wife to show up right then and then leave.
Hmm.
So I really enjoyed just being a down to earth person and really loving the people and being down to earth. I think I'm very easy once you understand my quirkiness and my sense of humor. But I, I also enjoyed um, making sure that people didn't put me on a pedestal. If there's anything, I'm more accountable, but I'm right there on the same level as anybody else. So I think that was probably just being relatable.
So let's flip the script. What was the hardest for each of you guys?
When people talk a lot and I'm hungry,
I'm going to give a serious answer.
I'm serious. I'm hungry.
Uh,
Oh, that's good.
for me, the hardest part of pastoring, Connor, me and you kind of talked about this a little bit, is administration, the behind the scenes part of pastoring, the administrative part, handling the finances, um, creating, um, creating, well, not creating vision. I'm actually pretty good at that, but I don't know, just all the behind stuff, paperwork, um, anything to do with the law and making sure the church follows the law, all that stuff is very, very difficult for me.
Hmm.
I did it, but I would always consult someone and ask for help.
Yeah. I would say you're a big picture guy, and you're not an analytical person.
Yeah, right.
Where I love to be analytical and to kind of just.
Good combo.
Mhm.
So here's the wrap up. So you both have you've served in ministry for quite some time, and now you're the awesome people at Reveal who get to help us in every single way. It seems
That's
like.
nice.
So what is your guys' what drew you to Reveal, and what's some of the stuff that you've enjoyed about Reveal?
I'm going to talk about the very, very beginning, and then obviously when our family first visited Reveal, I was not there. I was caring for my mother.
Mhm.
But what brought us is God. We
Absolutely.
went to the Dream Center for a great mission, and we have this big banquet table, and it's just Pastor Larry and Sister Brenda at the table, and they were stuck with us. And they were so disciplined while we're sitting there grabbing all the cheesecakes possible. But I do like, to snack. But I mean, that's the introduction of how God ordains. I mean, Craig and I, we married and we didn't know each other because of an appointed time. And we'll be married 20 years this year. It's an unconventional way. And meeting Pastor Larry and Sister Brenda was what looks like happenstance, but it wasn't. It was an appointed time. So then I'll let Craig go ahead and share the next part.
Yeah, so really it was a God thing. God just connected us to Pastor Larry and Brenda, and she had to go back and care for her mom, like she said. But I had told her, I really think that we're supposed to visit this church. And we had recently stepped down from pastoring our own church, and we were praying about what we were supposed to do. And so I visited with the boys, and I knew that Sunday we're supposed to be here, but I couldn't make that decision without Angel. So as soon as she was able to attend, she did the same thing. She felt the same thing. So it was a God thing. What we like and enjoy about Reveal is many things, but what really stands out the most and most prevalent is the sense of community and everyone caring for one another. To me, that's the New Testament church. That's what church is supposed to look like. And I see churches really struggle with that. Some churches do it well. Reveal does it really well, and it's a gifting. It's almost like, there's people like yourself that do intentional things to create that community, but I see a lot of it happen naturally, and I really love that.
The other thing is, there are a lot of great churches, and we are friends with other pastors, and we can enjoy any teaching from any one of our friends or pastors. I mean, God is doing a mighty work in Iowa. But as a mom, the idea that Brendan took an interest in my kids, and they're introverted. They're reserved, and I'm a reserved person. But every single Sunday, and it's not the church thing to do. He cares about those kids. And as a mom, I recognize that. And so that right there, I think anybody who's a mom, when you sit there and you touch our children's lives, we're going to take notice big time. So.
That's cool. I have to say, one of my favorite moments of you guys being at Reveal actually involves Jeremiah. It's when we were recording a preview for Easter last year, and Jeremiah jumped right into a dinosaur suit.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite that popped up recently.
Yeah.
Time hop and everything, and I saw
And
Jeremiah.
Totally got into it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
He was great. He was perfect at it too. I think we took 4 different shots and recordings of it, and he every time would take a little bit of instruction that I would say, hey, can you do this a little bit? Can you go slower? Can you go faster? Can you wave your arms more? Yeah. Every time he was like, yep, can do it. And he was perfect in it. I love that.
If you get into his circle, I mean, he's a funny person.
He's hilarious.
He is hilarious, but it takes time. And, I don't know if Brendan's gotten to see that or not, but he's hilarious.
Yeah, I know. I can't speak completely for Brendan, but I know last time I talked to him, he said he misses not being able to go to the movies and stuff and hang out. So last time I talked to him, Jeremiah and Israel brought up. So I know he's looking forward to it. Well, I have to ask one more quick question.
Sure.
Craig, this year, the Bills, what's your prediction for them?
I have said every year since 19-something, this is our year. But I'm telling you, even the strongest critics, the strongest NFL analyst, that's always been the strongest critic of the Bills is Cynthia Freeland with her mathematical matrix of predicting stuff and all this stuff. And even she has talked about how good the Bills are going to be this year and even yelled Bills Mafia in an interview. And I'm telling you, they're going to do really well. I'm not ready to say Super Bowl, but I'm telling you, it's our year.
I do have a question. If the Bills were to be in the Super Bowl, how many want to be around Craig for that?
I do.
I'm going to tell you something right now. If the Bills are in the Super Bowl, no offense. I love you. I hope people understand that I love people and I value people. But I'm going to tell you right now, don't try to talk to me. Don't try to have a conversation during the game. If I miss 1 second of the game, if they're in the Super Bowl, it will ruin the game for me. That's probably a flaw. You're probably seeing the dark side of me, but I'm just telling you.
I mean, you probably can see the socialization aspect of football season and non-football season from the Averys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if they make it to the Super Bowl, I might be buying myself a Josh Allen jersey because that would be so impressive. So
yeah.
So I feel like we'd have to watch it together just so you could witness that, because that might be the only time I'd ever wear another team's jersey. Unless it's the Bears, they could meet each other in the Super Bowl.
It's possible. It's possible.
Not probable, but it's possible.
And I would say if you did watch Craig and you were in the same room, watch out because things could be throwing.
That just means it's more fun. Okay, so we hit a ton of questions. Thank you guys for jumping on and doing this. I said it was going to be a half an hour. We're at 50 minutes, and thank you for sticking with as we had tons of technical difficulties. I was trying to get this up and going. So thank you for basically sticking with me for the last hour and 50 minutes. So
And
thank you
hey,
guys.
and everybody who's watched it, wow, thanks. I mean, I know
Yeah.
that we have busy lives and things to do in the evening, so that's an
Yeah.
honor to just for people to let us be in their living room.
We even had a few people jump on just in the last few minutes. But so,
Yeah.
all right, can they go back and watch it?
Yep. It'll be posted. It'll be out there, so you can go back and watch it. I might cut the beginning, and so we can jump right into questions and everything. But it's going to be out there, and it'll be golden.
Right.
It'll be up as soon as we finish. So and it's on YouTube too.
On there. Yep.
Thank you for inviting us for this, Connor, and making this happen and taking your time to do it. We really appreciate it. And everyone that asked questions and tuned in, we love you guys. Thanks.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a great night and the rest of your week.
Right.
God
Bye.
bless.
Bye.